Narelli. I'm the old bird in the room. I'm the momerator, the fairy flock mother, just kind of taking all these guys under my wings to help them feel like they are a vital part of the channel, because we know that they are. So Morgan, I'm going to kick it over to you, and then everybody can introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thanks, Mary. So I kind of wanted to start off by introducing New Kids on the Block, because I feel like everyone kind of asks the question, like, what is New Kids on the Block? Like, what are we doing? And it really started off with, I'll share a picture in a little bit. Him and I were on the road, and we were at this cocktail hour, and I remember Kelsey and I kind of locked eyes and just kind of immediately flocked to each other. And that's kind of how the idea was born, was from this picture. We looked around and we saw that there really wasn't a space for new kids in the channel, and like channel noobs, like we wanted to say. So we're changing that. New Kids isn't just going to be like a webinar series. It's going to be a community to help bring the new channel champions together on a monthly basis, and just talk about relative things like our first trade show or like relationship building, and just give a voice to flaminglets. So please be active in the chat. And yeah, with all that being said, I'm going to kick it over to Taylor for her introduction. And yeah, take it away.
Perfect. My name is Taylor Thorson. I am the channel manager here at Connect Booster. I've been here for 2 years now, so it's kind of fun that we're like diving into the past, just because it does not seem like it was that long ago. And I'm like, oh my God, it was 2 years ago already. And so I've been with Connect Booster all of the 2 years. And so really our product is just a solution that automates the AR and cash flow in your business to help you get paid on time every time. So it's a little bit about us and a little bit about me.
Cool. Kelsey, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Kelsey. I am with QuickPass Cybersecurity. This is my, I guess, like almost year and a half point in the channel. I started January 2021. I was with a different company. I was with Citricom. I joined QuickPass this year on the last day of February, and I really like the channel. I really love being here. So QuickPass is privilege access management for MSPs, and we do two things. We secure you and your most privileged accounts, and we secure your endpoints through a password rotator and self-service password reset.
Cool. That was really good. I love that.
Thanks.
Chandler, so you want to introduce yourself as well?
Yeah, of course. My name is Chandler. I am a partner identification manager at Mail Protector. I've been in the channel for about 7 months. We are a channel-only email security solutions provider for MSPs.
Perfect. And how long have you been in the channel? Did I miss that?
7 months.
Perfect. And I'll do a little, I'll do a little intro as well. My name is Morgan McBride, and I am your host today with Mary and all my other flaminglets. I am a channel engagement champion for Gradient. Star Wars Day was actually my 2-year anniversary in the channel. And a little bit about Gradient. We offer a product called Billable, which offers billing reconciliation for MSPs. It saves MSPs time and money and uncovers thousands of dollars in lost revenue. And you might have seen the news today that we just launched our first integration with LionGuard. So that now means that LionGuard partners can use we can get actual usage data from their customer systems and manage and compare data against bill quantities in their PSA, and then update those details automatically.
Very good. Thank you for all the introductions. That was awesome. So really, New Kids on the Block isn't about age. It's about how long you've been in the channel. So really anybody at that 2-year or under mark, that still has some questions about like fitting it in, especially when you go to a trade show and it's like, okay, who do I talk to? What do I do? Are they going to be nice to me? Things like that.
Are they going to ask me? That's the biggest one.
Are they going to ask me? That's a great one. And actually, this is kind of a surprise question, but what do you do when someone asks you a question and you don't know the answer to it? Because my first trade show, I was 20 years in a classroom I closed out my classroom on a Friday, summer was starting, and my first day was Monday. And I remember the first question someone asked me was about SIP trunking. And in my head, all I kept thinking about was an elephant sitting by a pond. I'm like, I have no idea what they're talking about. So my learning curve was huge. So let's start with Taylor. Can I put you on the spot? What do you do when someone asks you a question you don't know the answer to?
And what's funny is I was in this like similar position as you, because I think I started on a Tuesday and then I was at a conference by like Thursday, and I couldn't even tell you what Connect Booster did. Like I'm on the flight, like I'm trying to like figure out what the heck we do. And I remember I would just be like, hey, like I'll get back to you on that. Like, let me find you later. And I'm like calling people that I know in Connect Booster, like, can you help me? I don't know how to answer this. And I even still to this day, if I don't know the answer, I'm like, hey, let me find the answer for you. And I, but yeah, that's always, you're like, what the heck is going on? I have no idea what you're asking.
What about you, Chandler?
Yeah, definitely. So this is honestly something that also Morgan kind of introduced to me when I started working at Mail Protector, is kind of like using that almost ignorance to your advantage. And when I didn't know the answer to a question, I would just admit that, I'd be like, hey, honestly, I don't really know, but let me take down your name, number, your email. I'll get in touch with somebody, that does know the answer, and I'll get back to you. Or, use this as an example to kind of set an appointment with one of our account managers, something like that. But that's mostly what I would do is, to be completely honest, I really don't know. I have no idea what the answer is, but I'll find it out for you.
For sure. I think I still do that as well as
I do too, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I've only been at Gradient since February, so there's still so much to learn. I think that, and that's just in every career, but I still rely on like my ignorance and just kind of like say, I don't know, but I can get you the right answer. And then I'll quickly like jump on Slack and be like, someone please help me. I'm in front of someone, I don't know the answer. It's like my go-to even to this day.
Kelsey, what about you?
Yeah, so I was told last year, because I really like to plan ahead and I was stressing out about not knowing everything. I was told, I don't know is an answer. Like, it's okay to not know. And I'm a lot more comfortable now, like kind of showing that vulnerability in that I don't know, but I've got someone right over here who can help you. We can, book a demo and like we can learn together. I actually have sat in on demos now, so like I see what they're told and stuff. But yeah, no, I was told last year, I don't know is a complete answer and it's okay. But it felt like the end of the world for a long time to like not know something.
Right.
But a lot of times you're getting really technical questions that like, I have no idea.
Right. And Ashley made a really good point in the chat. Like, you build so much trust by admitting that you don't know something rather than being like giving some BS answer just because you want to be like, you want to give that. You establish so much trust with like anyone you talk to when you're like honest like that. So
very good.
100%.
Well, and I told you I came from the education industry like forever ago, like, wearing jumpsuits and wooden jewelry. And then I was in the channel. So where did you guys come from before you were part of the channel? Chandler, you want to kick it off?
Yeah, sure. So I was actually working in the telecom industry. I'd had an internship my junior or going into my senior year summer that I got through some connections that I had made while I was at school. It wasn't necessarily something that I envisioned myself doing in the long run, but was mainly just a way to, I guess, get on my feet after college. I was actually a directional drill locator, which I doubt probably nobody knows what really is. And honestly, I still doubt if I even really know what I did. But
sounds super
that's really,
important though.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But I did that for about 6 or 7 months after I graduated before coming into the channel.
Morgan, what about you?
I was a server / bartender before I entered the channel, which is a little fun tidbit. I think that's like, I just loved people. And honestly, like I was still in school, so I was like, it was a job to do, but I loved like bartending because I could just stand there and I could talk to people like the whole time while I'm working. And that's kind of like why I love the channel as well, is because I get to continue to talk to people and build those relationships and do that. So if you guys want a mean margarita one day, I'll make you one.
I feel a team building activity coming on.
Yes. Our first New Kids outing will be me at the bar.
Behind the bar.
Behind the bar.
Kelsey, what about you? What industry were you in before the channel?
Yeah, so I was doing marketing for a real estate firm. So I was still marketing, but it was in real estate, which is honestly really similar to the channel in that they love to have parties just all year. Like it was like the Christmas party would be in February because there were so many other Christmas parties. But I actually I knew someone already in the channel, Therese, and she texted me probably 3 times trying to get me to come over and join her. And the first time just didn't work out. The role didn't exist yet. And like, there was just needed to be time. And I was like, well, I need a job now. So, and then once I finally did get a job, I was like, oh, well, I'm not looking anymore. And so finally the 3rd time I was like, okay, yes. She was like, I think this will be really good for you. You're really good at talking to people. And so I joined, and actually my first trade show was a year ago today. So that's kind of exciting. It's crazy to think of what a year it's been, but yeah.
Very good. Taylor, I think you're the last flaminglet to ask.
Yeah, well, this was my first job out of college. So kind of before that, I did SDR for Connect Booster when I was in college. So that kind of led into the channel and what I'm doing now. So it's nothing
Okay,
crazy.
you'll have to tell me, what is SDR?
Well, we call it a partner advocate. It would be like oh my gosh, what do you guys call it at Mail Protector?
Me, I'm a partner identification manager.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of like a PIM.
Yep.
Okay.
So like we were setting appointments, we were doing different things like that. So yeah, did that in college and then led to this.
It stands for sales development, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
We just the BDR, depending on where you go. And I think forgive me if I'm wrong. I think that they're similar roles.
And I was like, okay, I don't know if people really know what a PA is. So I was like SDR. And I was like, actually not really sure what it stands for, but I know that's like the more basic term of what it's used. So
I found that every company has their own acronyms. And if you
Yeah.
don't know, ask, because I was just sitting here thinking, do people think I'm stupid that I just asked what that was? But
No,
no, because I was the one that,
Question. There are
I was the one that said it, and I was like, give me a second, I know what this is.
Well, and I kind of want to ask too, like Kelsey kind of explained how she got into the channel, but I'd like to know like how everyone got to the channel. So Taylor, how did you get connected with Connect Booster?
Well, like I said, I started working for them in college, which it was a random, like they sent out emails all the time. My school is like in the same area. And so I just randomly applied and I got it. And so it was kind of like everything shook out how it was supposed to. And like they just happened to have an opening that they were like looking to fill internally. And like I was just graduating. So it was like naturally like a pretty good fit. So yeah, I guess life has a weird way of working out, but I just love working here. So I'm like, I always feel so lucky that like I somehow, came across Connect Booster and everyone that works here. So.
And Taylor, what about you?
Yeah, kind of similar situation to Taylor, not right out of college, but I was not really sure where I was going to end up. And I was actually reached out to by a recruiter. And I did a little bit of research on Mail Protector. And then after, kind of going through the interview process, I felt like it was definitely something that I could see myself doing in the long run, just because of, I'm a people person.
Yeah.
I love to get to know people. I love to make connections with people. So, and that was really what this role kind of allowed me to do. So it just kind of one thing fell into place after another. And here we are 7 months later.
And Mary, I know you're somewhat new to the channel as well. I'll consider it. We'll accept you.
okay, thank you. No, I'm the moderator. I'm the fairy flock mother. So like, I'm just here to like encourage, but I can tell you why. And it's something I was thinking about looking at all of you that are here today, is that you guys can talk to people. And, the attendees at trade shows and stuff are so smart and so computer focused that sometimes they need to surround themselves with salespeople, relationship builders, partner advocates. So as long as I got the job because I could have a conversation with anybody, basically. So that's how I was able to join the channel, is that I think I've had so many parent conferences that I can be stern with people and I can be nice to people and I can direct conversations. And also the ability to say no too. You have to set some boundaries, right? So all of that is I think it was all about communication, and just by watching everybody's demeanor here, you all have it. So
So
A
sweet.
plus.
Well, I want to also launch this poll for everyone in the audience. 'Cause we kind of covered it ourselves, but I want to hear from you guys. Like, how long have you been in the channel? And it is a multiple choice answer. So I'll go ahead and launch that. And I'll just keep it running until the end. But if you guys want to vote, that would be awesome.
This is kind of like a random thought I was having, but it's like when you guys entered, did you have any idea of like what the channel even was? Like even
No.
to this day, I try to explain it and I'm like, just kind of got to be there.
It's special. Like,
It's a community.
No one understands. And when I say no one, I mean like my friend groups, they're like, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, X, Y, and Z. And like, I travel and I do this. And they're like, okay, but like, what is that? Like, that's like never ending. I'm like, you don't get it. You don't get it.
Yeah. And how many times have you been asked what's an MSP?
A
yeah.
million.
Many times.
My first notebook from my first channel, my first page, I wrote, what is an MSP? Like, I need to figure this out.
When I got the job, explaining it to my parents, my mom, I think still every time I talk about my job, she asks me what an MSP is. So
You're like, Mom, they do this.
So one of the questions that Ashley had asked us in the New Kids on the Flock Slack channel was, what was surprising about this industry? Like, what was so different about it? Or, what did you notice from, the communities or jobs you had previously that was kind of surprising to you? I can tell you what Ashley noticed. She said it was raining men.
That is so true. Which is kind of funny because this is like we have one man and like the rest female. So I think it's kind of funny that it's the opposite. But it is raining. It's so crazy. But I think the sense of like community that there is something that surprised me, like with vendors and with MSPs and just like all of it. That was like the biggest thing is you can go to one specific like trade show and then a year and a half later you see the same person at another one. We see them 2 months later because everyone is just like connected. It's really cool.
I was going to say the same thing, just like it's very tight knit. And it was like just so fun how fast like friendships can be formed, which I wasn't expecting. I'm like, sometimes I feel like I have more friends like that I work with that I see on a every couple of weeks basis more than anything, just because we're all together all the time. So it's fun.
Yeah. Kelsey, what about you?
Yeah. So that's actually what I was going to say. When I first started, Therese told me, she was like, look, you work remote most of the time, but you're always traveling. She was like, your fellow vendors are more like your coworkers than your coworkers because you hang out with them and see them more. And when I'm like telling my friends or family, like, about stuff that happens, I just call anyone at a show my coworker. Like, it's just easier. Like, oh, my coworker Morgan and I walked to Wendy's. Like, nah. Like, it's just easier.
Right. Chandler, what about you?
yeah, I guess I was kind of just blown away at like the fact that there was an actual almost like, it almost feels like one big organization when you refer to the channel. And it's kind of weird when I came in, I didn't really realize that there was just a way that things worked when going from, the vendor to the MSP to the end user. And I honestly found that fascinating that it was so organized and structured the way that the channel operates. And I thought that was really cool. Just kind of, and it's all completely separate, interactions, but at the same time, very, like I said, very structured.
For sure. Yeah.
So does anybody else have the experience where people will say, oh my gosh, I saw that you were in Orange County, like how's the city?
Mm.
And I'm like, I don't know.
I
Like,
All the time.
so explain what are your thoughts on that topic?
No, yeah, I was in Vegas last year for Kaseya and I did not leave the hotel once. I was only outside for my Uber from the airport and my Uber back to the airport. So everyone's like, oh my gosh, Vegas, that's so fun. And I'm like, I don't know. Okay.
I think it depends on the show. Like,
Yeah.
there are definitely shows where I never, like, we when we were at in Chicago last week. I think we walked to Wendy, and that was like, and I walked to the mall, and that was it. I'm like, I didn't see Chicago, but
Yeah.
Vegas. Taylor and I had a grand old time in Vegas last year. We did venture out a little bit, so it was. So for
It
some,
takes some pre-planning, I feel like a little
Yeah.
bit of forethought, and then you can make it work.
sometimes I'll take the like agenda for an event, and I'm like, all right, where do I have a sliver of time where I can like go outside, and that's like where I'll find it.
We did on our way home from exchange last year, we stopped by the Alamo. Like we made time on our last day. So we were able to like see something.
Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah.
Chandler, I know you're new, but any thoughts on that?
Yeah, to be completely honest, we went out the last night they were there after ASCII was over in Kansas City. But other than that, I feel like they were asking me, like I had friends, family when I got back, like, how was the first business trip? How was it? Like, I had never been to Missouri before. And still, I don't even know if that really counts because I just went to and from the airport, basically. So I definitely have to go back to form a real educated opinion on the city of Kansas City. So kind of the same as what everybody else has been saying. It's just kind of like to and from the hotel, really.
That's so true. Well, and I feel like this is kind of a good opportunity to get into our main topic of my first trade show. Chandler, you're kind of already taking the lead on your first one. So do you want to kind of tell us about, what you experienced, what your thoughts were, lessons you learned?
Yeah, definitely. So going into the trade show, I really didn't know what to expect. And everybody was telling me, oh, it's so fun. It's so cool. Like it's really easy. Don't stress out about it. And it's like, I mean, to be completely honest, you can't not stress about something like that. When you're going there and you're in front of all these people, it's something that you're just going to stress about. But I guess if I had any piece of advice, which I don't know, how, I guess, effective this piece of advice will be, but I like to think that, because this is how I talk myself out of being nervous, is that you have to go into these events with the mindset that, it's a learning experience at the end of the day. No one's expecting you to be perfect. Your company's not expecting you to go there and be an all-out superstar on your first ever trade show. You need to treat it like a learning experience, do the best that you can do, and just take it in. Once you understand that mindset, it becomes a lot easier to, I guess, just accept the fact that, okay, I really don't know what I'm doing, but that's okay. And I wish I kind of would have gone in with a similar mindset of being, I guess, instead of being so worried about how I was going to act and how I was going to perform, than just going in with this mindset that, hey, this is a learning experience and no one expects me to be perfect here. So.
Yeah, that's super true. And I feel like we're too self-critical as well, like when we're new to the channel. Like I remember being on the flight and literally like having flashcards of like what an MSP was, what a PSA was, what the heck our product did, like just having like putting too much stress on myself when I got there, and I blanked completely. Like it was still like I just needed to learn, like have the conversations in person. That was like what I needed to do.
Totally.
I don't know if anyone else experienced that. Well, Taylor might have, because that was what, your second day?
It was like my third day, probably. But I will say, I think sometimes just getting thrown to the wolves is the best way to learn. Because like you don't think about it. You're just like, you can kind of just be fearless in the situation of like, I have nothing to lose here. And I think just like taking opportunity with like stride of like, hey, I don't really know what I'm doing. And it's kind of like an awesome thing that like, I'm just learning as I'm going.
Kelsey, your first day was a trade show, right?
Yeah. So my first day with QuickPass was, so thankfully I'd had other trade shows, but no, this year, my first day was, I had my last day with my last company on Friday, and then Sunday was the start of the trade show. So like, it was kind of day zero even. And I actually reached out to Jimmy, my manager, and I was like, do you have anything I can look over before I join? I just want to, prep. And he said, oh, you won't need anything. And I was like, oh, but I do. So I like studied the website. I actually still have the notes that I took. And of course, I still just felt so unprepared. But I was like, well, I can be honest, and I did. I used it to my advantage. I was like, look, I'm not really sure, but we can learn together, like, let's talk to the guys. Yeah. But my favorite thing from my very first trade show, I was told like, you know, I was stressed and panicked about so much. And I was told, remember, there's still a target wherever we're going, you know, and that kind of really did help calm me down. Like, Target can solve all your problems, whatever you're missing, anything like that.
Oh, that
But
Target.
I was thinking numbers. Okay.
Yeah.
no. Target, like the store. Like, you know,
That's a
like
good
on
point.
top of everything else, like you're preparing, like forgetting something is just awful. And I remember she told me, she was like, there's still Target where we're going. Like, it's okay, calm down. But my last company, we were all DFW based. So we all flew out together, which wasn't interesting. Now that I fly alone, like it's kind of more peaceful and I like it a little bit more, but having my crew was fun. And I actually sat with the salespeople and I was like, okay, like, please help me, teach me the things I need to say. Like, I was so nervous about having to actually talk to MSPs. And then once we were there, I was like, oh, I don't want anyone to hear me say any of these things. Like, it's kind of like someone hearing you while you're on the phone. Like, it just stressed me out. And now, I mean, I spoke on stage last week, like, whatever.
Yeah. and
The
you did
way
it
a
all.
year changes things.
So yeah, totally. And I just want to give a quick little shout out to Kelsey giving her first presentation last week. It was awesome. If you were
Thank
able
you.
to.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Well,
Very
I
good.
think the one thing that I definitely learned from my first trade show was wear better shoes. For sure. I just want to share a quick picture because this will just highlight what not to do if you're heading to your first one. The first trade show, she's now my really good friend, Mary, if everyone can see the green, but these were the shoes I was wearing. They are like a wood sole. I didn't walk for like 3 days after I got back, after standing in those all day. It's just not do not recommend. We'll just say that.
That's so funny.
So think about when you packed for your first trade show, do you think your suitcase looks the same? Or have you pivoted?
Oh my goodness.
Well, now I mostly just pack tracksuits, but before I was packing like 12 outfit changes, which I wore one, I think, because I didn't. So.
I think I packed so many pairs of shoes. Like, that was the most, like, hair tools and pairs of shoes where they were just all irrelevant. I did my hair like one morning. I actually now, like, I have a designated travel makeup bag. Like, I bought all just so I'm not constantly, because I'm on the road at least, I'd say 2 weeks a month. And it just, I don't know, I have a whole just travel bag. So I wash my work clothes and put them right back in there. And I have all my makeup stuff. I do not carry hair tools anymore. And like maybe 2 pairs of shoes, like a pair of flats and my tennis shoes. And that's it.
That's pretty funny. Yeah. Do you guys have like go bags? Like what Kelsey had said?
I don't. I mean, I have like a toiletry bag, but I don't have like a designated travel bag that I bring. But then again, like I'm still very new, so that could change.
What about you?
There.
Yeah.
I just don't unpack at this point. Like I have an extra bedroom, so I just leave my suitcase in there and then refill and overpack and then do it again.
I definitely have what Kelsey has. That was one of the first things, is that my like all of the toiletries, everything, makeup, it's all like duplicated, so I don't even have to think about it.
Yeah.
It's a good idea.
It's just so easy.
Yeah, I actually I was in Houston for ASCII in January, and Trevor and I was like, I forgot eyeliner, like I have to go to CVS. And so he and I like walked to the nearest CVS just so I could buy eyeliner. We don't do that anymore. We have our own bag.
We know we have our eyeliner when we leave the house now.
We do.
That's awesome. Okay, so question, we're at the halfway mark, 12:30. We've talked a lot about work. What do you do when you're not working?
Great
Who
Question.
question.
Really not working. Yeah, I'm like, I feel like I don't do anything. I love hot yoga. Like that's like my go-to de-stressor is like, I'll go find, I'm still looking for mine here because I just moved to Charlotte, but that was my go-to like after work, like all the time. I would immediately like have my bag in the car and just head straight over to hot yoga because I needed to like just have me
Yeah.
time. That was like,
I love that.
yeah, it's just my fun thing to do. What about you guys?
Yeah, go ahead, Chandler.
Okay. I personally think this was probably one thing I did do well, was like kind of thinking about where I was going to go beforehand. And obviously that was Kansas City. And I was like, okay, like Kansas City has world famous barbecue. All right. So that was like one thing that I wanted to do when I was there. I actually ate barbecue, I think like 3 out of the 4 nights I was there. Obviously different items, but I really wanted to try that famous Kansas City barbecue. I'm a big barbecue guy. And it was definitely worth it. So after, I'd get done, with booth time for the day and things like that, and I didn't really have any more, I guess, work-related responsibilities, I would just find a random barbecue restaurant and I would go eat there. So I guess the point of what I'm saying is like you could find out, where, depending on where you're going, maybe a week before, find out something that's kind of famous for that area. And it doesn't have to be something super time consuming, but if it's food, if it's, an attraction that's close by, why not?
Yeah.
I might have answered that question wrong. Now I'm like, oh, we're talking about not like after work, we're talking about like after trade shows. And I'm like,
Oh, it could be either.
Oh, I thought we were also talking after work, so I was on the same spectrum as you were.
I was like, trade show is like preps. Okay, what I do after the trade show is I go up to my room and I chill. That's usually my go-to, or I'm at the bar with people in this shop. So
Agreed.
I really I try to now kind of making the most of my trips places. I like to look beforehand, see if there's like a really cool landmark or a museum or something nearby. And I try to plan time to go see that. I try to do a handstand in some famous area everywhere that I go. That's been my new thing this year. So like in Nashville, I did make time to go to the Country Music Hall of Fame. I was by myself, so it was like I didn't have to like worry about someone else needing to catch their flight or like, me worrying about rushing them. So that was really good. I know he said we did the Alamo. Like I like history, so that's kind of what I typically try to make time for. I usually can skip the food. I'm kind of a picky eater, but I'll look for the history in whatever area I'm in. So that's mine.
oh, pretty cool. Taylor, either answer.
I was totally going down the personal route too. Like, so I was like, yeah, hot yoga, rock on. I'm into golf, so I get it. But after trade shows, I'm a dinner person, like dinner and drinks, find some good food. That's always a fun thing. And then like I live in Fargo, so when I'm traveling in the winter, pools. Anytime I can sit by a pool, I'm gonna sit by a pool anytime I can.
Oh my gosh, if there's a hot tub at
Yeah,
the
like
hotel, I'm like,
and we're done working. Even if it's an hour, I will pack my swimsuit in my backpack like before I get on the plane. Like I haven't seen the sun in like 6 months. Just trying to get some vitamin D.
Like,
I like that we all have different priorities.
Eating, pool, what, and I think what was yours, Chandler? Your summary? It was doing something, right?
Mine was food.
His was food.
I'm sleeping.
That would be really fun though. Let's find yoga classes everywhere we go.
We do.
I'm into that. If we go with Ola, she's a yoga instructor.
Oh, perfect.
We wouldn't even need to pay. We just need to find
a space.
A lawn, yeah.
That's awesome.
I can do my headstand.
Do you ever realize before you started traveling how exhausting it can be? Because like my husband's a banker, and when he goes to a show, it is like literally 9 to 5, and he doesn't work outside of that.
Oh, wow.
Frame. Like the shows don't have any evening activities, or he can take out clients if he wants and things like that. But literally when he heard about some of the events going till 11 p.m., breakfast starts at 7:30, you get a 10-minute break, and or sometimes not even allowing like for a dinner break.
Yeah.
You know, I think that schedule was something that was shocking to my system.
I full-heartedly agree. It's still hard even now that I know it's coming. I'm like, oh God, okay.
I am still like
schedule a day for sleep once you get home.
You sleep when you're dead is what.
That's right.
I
That's
hear.
right.
And I'm like, I don't know, I'm running on like 2 hours right now.
Yeah, but can you die from not sleeping?
Yes.
Definitely.
But it's like, you need a while for that to get to that point.
Right. I think that it's still a shock to my system and I've not adjusted yet. Like, it can be a lot. Yeah.
I have to tell a story about Ashley in our last trip. Bless her heart. We go to the airport together and I go Southwest. She goes like Air Canada. And I find out that her flight just ended up being canceled completely. And they're like, go pick up your bags on baggage carousel, whatever. And it was just like, I felt so bad for her. I was like, I would have kidnapped you and taken you to Dallas for the night. But there's so much flexibility you have to have, and you have to realize how much is not in your control. And it really doesn't even, it's not worth it to get mad about it because you can't do anything about it. So here, Ashley's like taking pictures of Phil in like all these little locations. If you don't know, Phil's our mascot in Philadelphia, particularly. So, but yeah, in order to get home, she's like going to random cities, and it was crazy. So has anybody ever lost a bag or had their flight canceled or?
Oh my gosh, I had a flight canceled. It was like my first week at Gradient, and I'm a very structured person, so that's a big learning, like something I've learned being in this role is like you have to be flexible. Because it was my first week and we had gone to Boston, and when we landed in Boston, it was, I think, like 70 degrees. People were walking around in shorts, like it was perfect. It was in February. And then the day we were supposed to fly out, there was a snowstorm, and it snowed like almost a foot in like overnight. And they were like, yep, good luck getting out of here. Like, you're not getting out. And we had to be in Dallas like the next day. And I was like, I need to go home because I didn't pack for Dallas. Like, I only have this. I only have enough socks for 3 days. Like, what am I going to do for the next 5? So yeah, it can be stressful. I ended up getting home, but it's one of those things you have to overpack for sure. Like extra socks and toiletries and everything that you need. And also just go with the flow because you can't control like flights and snowstorms and
Yeah.
going on.
Pivot like crazy.
Pivot. I just get the image, and y'all may not be old enough to remember this, but Friends, where they're moving a couch. Pivot, pivot, pivot.
We have that one.
I was going to say literally like 2 weeks ago, because we just, obviously Fargo doesn't have direct flights. So everything's out of Chicago or Minneapolis. And so typically like we'll miss our connection flights all the time in the cities, but I like got a delay at like 2:30 and our flight was connecting in Minneapolis at like 7. I called the guy that was going with me. I'm like, hey, I'll pick you up in 20. We got to make the drive to Minneapolis to get on our flight. So it's just like, sometimes you just got to make it happen and make it work.
Is that regular for you? Like you just pack up and drive to like the airport that you gotta go to?
Well, there's an airport in Fargo that's like 10 minutes away, but like our flight was delayed or canceled from Fargo to Minneapolis. And so it's only like 3 hours to Minneapolis. So we like got to the airport by like 5:30 and made our flight and all.
Wow.
That's well.
That's a very good pivot.
Oh yeah.
For sure.
I haven't personally had any flights canceled, but I did have to cancel a flight. Last year in October, I was only supposed to do 2 shows back to back, but then we had a third one and our staffing like fell through, the girl couldn't go. And so I had to leave the second show early and fly home. And then that show was in Austin and I'm out of Dallas. So then I had to drive to Austin, and I flew out of Love Field, but could only fly back into DFW. It was just a whole thing, which those are like 20 minutes apart, but my car was at one, I landed at another. It was so much. Of course, I didn't have enough socks or, underwear. Like I was already wearing the same stuff for 2 weeks. Like it was not my favorite time, but I did it. I showed up, I rolled with the punches, and we all survived. And that's what matters.
Yeah, you just have to roll with the punches at that point.
Yeah.
So I know when you go city to city, a lot of times you see the same vendors. Sometimes you see the same MSPs too. is if they
Yeah.
kind of travel the circuit. What are some common questions that you get asked by the attendees at the trade shows?
What's with all the flamingos? That's like my question, and that might just be for us, Mary. That's the number one thing that comes to mind. What about you?
What's your answer for that?
That was it at first, and then I had a conversation with Colin, and flamingos represent community, and we're about bringing the IT community together. So,
Oh,
Therefore, I'm the director of flamboyance. And if you didn't know that, a flamboyance is a flock of flamingos.
and flamingolettes, if we haven't already said, are baby flamingos. So,
And if you have not Googled them, they are the cutest flipping thing you've ever seen in your life. They're little gray puffballs with pink feet and legs.
I have a campaign going to make a flamingolette our mascot, but Phil is just cute too, so that kind of worked out.
Phil's not going to be outdone by a flamingolette. Maybe he'll find a soulmate and have a flamingolette. You never know.
aw,
Phil's
a channel love story.
Phil's got a lot of potential.
He totally does. So
But
what question?
definitely what's up with the flamingos, or hey, I saw the flamingo somewhere, so tell me what you do.
Mhm.
You know, and making sure that your story's clear, that they know how you can help them, I think would be the biggest thing for me, is like, okay, so what do you do?
Right, and I
Yeah.
think like Mail Protector's name is very like transparent and kind of tells you what you do, but I feel like Connect Booster and QuickPass, like just based off the names, do people know like what y'all do?
Not at all.
Same question then.
Any other questions?
We give out cigars as part of our swag, and so I think the number one question is, are those real? Which I don't have a good enough answer other than yes. Like, I haven't come up with anything better, but they are very real.
I've
And I
had
feel like,
a quick pass cigar.
yeah, I have sat down with others while they partake in them. I think a really like popular question too is, you know, especially for the local MSPs, like they're proud of where they're from and they, you know, want to talk about it. So they either ask if you've been to such and such place, or like if you have plans to go somewhere. And I think that's also really cool to have that, like you have the locals wherever you are, and they can kind of tell you like, oh, don't waste your time there. Like, you know, make sure you check this out food wise, like you have to eat at this restaurant. So I always like that part of it.
Yeah. What about you, Taylor?
Okay, well, this has nothing to do with Connect Booster or trade. Well, it kind of does, but like, it's like people find out that we're based out of Fargo, and it's like this mind-blowing thing that people like live in North Dakota. And so it's like, my God, do you actually live in Fargo? Like, you don't sound like you're from Fargo. Is it like the movies? And I'm like, oh my God. I get asked this, I kid you not, probably like 20 times every time. So
That's hilarious.
That's
It's funny to see
I'm
what
like-
everybody's perception is.
I'm like, we do the same song and dance that everyone else does. We got everything you need.
Taylor, what about you?
Yeah, and, you know, I don't have too much experience to go off of, but one of the big things that I think I got asked, one of the big questions, probably the main question I got asked a lot of was basically talking about pricing. People always want to know about pricing, how much it costs, which it honestly comes down to, it depends on your company and what your role is within your company. And, you know, if your role is pricing, mine isn't. I'm not a pricing expert, and I know that that's my role within my company. So typically I try to, again, back to the, you know, being honest about certain things, telling people, you know, I don't know, you know, that's not my area of expertise. I don't focus on pricing. So I typically, I'll deflect questions like that, or I'll just tell them, you know, hey, like, to be completely honest, that's not really like my role. But that was from, you know, the experience that I do have, people asking about pricing pretty often.
Right. I think that also, I can't see, I'm not a technical person, so I'm gonna have a hard time crafting an example, but technical questions, like when I worked at my last job, like I would always get technical questions and they were like stumpers, and I would be like standing there and have to rely on my lack of experience and just follow my sword there. But even now, like I get questions, like technical questions sometimes at shows, and I'm like, fall back on the, I don't know if I can get you the answer.
Mhm.
Well, and I think it's so important when you say, I can get you the answer, that you provide the answer. We had a call yesterday that we didn't know some of the questions, and, you know, that follow-up email can really put you in front of them again, you know, provide that trust that, hey, she said she was going to get me the answer. She got me the answer. And sometimes they may not like the answer, but they do appreciate transparency. And I think, Morgan, that's one of the questions we get all the time is, so why is it free?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Do you want to explain about that, or?
Yeah. So when I usually tell people like why it's free is like, sorry, losing my train of thought. The reason I usually give is because we just launched in November. And so when Colin went to the investors and showed them the product and said, you know, it's not going to make any money for the next 12 to 18 months or so. The investors like still believed in the product and what it could do for the channel. And so they went full force and gave them the funding. And then I also tell people it's kind of like Spotify or like Audible. Does Audible do that? But it's a freemium model right now. So we offer it for free at one level. And then when we launch other integrations, we will have like a paid version as well. So, but people are pretty skeptical about like it being free. And I like to see the reaction on people's faces when they find out it is free, because it's usually either a furrow of the brow or like a raised eyebrow. It's always like in the face is their true expression.
And I think what I find when you have questions about pricing, whether you say it's going to be $50 a month or $100 a month, they just want the number you give them first to be right. Because they don't want to be surprised like down the road, like, oh, now you're nickel and diming me. Oh, you wanted that feature? You know, I wanted to buy a car. Oh, you want wheels on the car? Oh, you want upholstery? Like, it's like, it should be whatever it is what it needs to be.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that all goes back to like the trust and like building trust with MSPs and other vendors, and like just being able to be honest with them, I think is really important.
Yeah, I think that's great. And if anybody in the chat has any questions or comments or experiences, you know, please put those in there, because we would love your participation as well. Or if you know of anybody that would like to be a part of New Kids on the Flock, I'm going to actually go ahead, Morgan, if you're okay with this, share the screen so that we can look at our next one coming up. And this will kind of be like a bigger launch for us. Can you all see that?
Yeah.
This was kind of a soft launch, if you will, a practice for us, because we are New Kids on the Flock and we like to try new things, but we like to do it in a certain comfort zone. So our next one will be even bigger. You can scan the code and it'll take you to the registration page. Any content ideas, anything you want to learn about, feel free to shoot those our way for sure.
And if you're uncomfortable with QR codes, I'm going to drop the link to register in the chat right now for the June kickoff. And then this one will just be on, you know, building your flock, kind of what we touched on today, building relationships in the channel and why those are important, how you can do it at trade shows or on LinkedIn, and just kind of what the experience we've had with that. So, but yeah, would love to hear from everyone in the audience if you have any questions or, you know, comments about like how questions you get, and also what Mary said, like ideas on what we should cover. Always open to those as well.
Yeah, mine are shoes, good socks, shoes, good socks, shoes, good socks. And sometimes socks in the morning need to be changed in the afternoon.
Yep.
So true. That is super true. Yeah, I think I only pack tennis shoes from now on. Like I don't think I bring any other shoes besides that. It's just
There's no need.
There's no need. No, it's just wasting space.
Even the MSPs,
Yeah.
they were the same thing. Oh, that's a great question, Jack. Jack said, have you ever had a not so nice person come up to your booth, and how did you handle it? Anybody want to say what they did, or this old bird can talk? It's up to you.
I have
one.
Go ahead, Kelsey.
It was with my last company, and I don't really remember the situation, but it was a current customer who was just upset about something he'd encountered, and I wasn't sure what to do or how to handle it. So I kind of just deferred, and our CEO was actually like just hanging around. And so kind of just passed it right off to him. I was like, this is the person who's going to handle any problem you actually have. Yeah, that was probably the most uncomfortable booth situation I've been in.
I had someone come up and accuse me, it was accusing the company, but it was accusing me of being, I don't remember if it was rude or if it was, I don't remember if it was rude or if it was not following up with them, but I had like a paper trail. But something that I learned from my old sales director was write that person's name on a piece of paper and crumble it up and throw it away. And that's all you keep from that interaction. And I think that's one thing Jack and I probably learned together was the paper thing.
That's a really good strategy.
I like that.
Yeah.
Anybody else have an experience? Chandler, I would think you'd be the least likely just because of the time you've been in the channel. But
Yeah, definitely.
I think on the phones as well. I think that like if most of us started, like I started as an SDR, so I was yelled at on the phones and it was not fun. So if it's like you can't think about in person, but you've got one on the phone, what about that?
Yeah, I do have a very memorable experience on the phone. I called somebody, I think on January 3rd, it was Monday morning. Well, because I was on the East Coast, so it was like noon. I usually do check the time zones that I'm calling, but I called somebody on the West Coast at like 9 a.m. January 3rd, first day back from the break, and I got cussed out. And he was like, "Don't call me again for another 2 weeks." And I was like, "All right, at least you didn't tell me never to call you again." But
Yeah, you were given a window.
Yeah.
I am calling once more. You told me to call in 2 weeks.
He was a lot nicer the second time around. So
I bet he's probably still coming off that weekend's like.
yeah.
What about you, Taylor?
I was trying to think, like, I mean, there's definitely people that come up that aren't unhappy. And I think it's just like trying to provide an answer for them or trying to be like, hey, like, I'll try to help any way I can. But I haven't had anyone like be terrible. And I mean, if you're not happy, you're not happy, and let's see what we can do.
I think
sometimes you just can't be like too rattled by people. You just got to be like, hey, there's only so much. I'm just here. There's only so much I can do, right?
Totally.
Exactly.
This may be my teacher heart talking, but the first thing that I think when someone's rude or ugly to me is how sad for them. Like, I wonder what's going on in their life that, that's their first way to handle a problem.
Yeah.
So I think what Ashley said is definitely killing them with kindness and being empathetic. And sometimes all they want is for you to listen to them.
All the time.
Yeah. And just let them talk. Don't interrupt them. Just nod. One trick I have is if I don't have anything nice to say, it's just that's my thing. It's like, like I'm acknowledging with some kind of noise that, your child's gifted. No, I didn't say that about teachers. But just listening and letting them get their whole story out and then empathizing with them. And then definitely, like Kelsey had her CEO there, but giving it to someone that can actually address it, because there are people that can address it.
Oh yeah.
So I think that's definitely huge.
And I feel like it's always scary too when you're like at your first trade show and somebody's rude to you or they call you out for something and it's not even directed at you. It's like support never got back to me and I'm mad about it. You like it's intimidating and you feel like scared to like do anything wrong. Like that's how I would feel. It's like I don't want to do anything else wrong. Like they're already mad at me, but they're not mad at me. They're just mad at the situation. And it's daunting, but I feel like
nothing personal.
Yeah, no, it's never like I would say if any of the times I've gotten someone's mad, it's not directly at me. And so I think that what Mary's point had said just about like having somebody there, like rely on them. They should be there to support you. And it's, they're probably more experienced than you and can help until we get into those roles where we're the ones that are gonna have to take over for the flaminglets, right?
No, I totally agree with you. And also it's setting boundaries. Don't let somebody treat you ugly.
That's
Yeah,
absolutely-
that's something from my first trade show to now. I feel a lot more confident in myself and my ability to draw that boundary and just be like, we're actually not going to do this today.
Mhm.
Yeah, or I've had a conversation with someone where they were yelling and yelling on the phone. And I just said, we're not going to accomplish anything in this call, but when you're calmer, please feel free to call me back. And I said, and I'm going to hang up now. And I hung up. So it wasn't a surprise. It was just, you know,
Good for you.
I mean, you have to do it. I actually learned that working in a very poor school district with parents that were just always irate. It was like 0 to 100. And the principal taught us how to hang up appropriately. Like it's not a slamming down the phone, which we don't do that anymore because we don't have those phones. It's just not as satisfying to hit the button. But yeah, so definitely, I mean, having boundaries is good. And having an organization that supports those boundaries is huge.
Yeah.
So I think Ashley mentioned something about that, so that they don't deal with assholes. So, well, this has been a lot of fun for me. Thank you for letting me join you guys as the moderator and kind of being your little tour guide through the webinar.
She's taking us under her
I
wings.
know.
I appreciate you guys joining so much, and Mary, I appreciate Mary as well. And everyone else who joined too, and the chat and the conversation. I think this was a lot of fun. Yeah, please sign up for next month for our big launch, and look forward to seeing hopefully everyone and more there next month.
Most definitely. Tell your friends, tell new people in the channel. Maybe it's a teacher who taught 20 years, but they just
Just join.
events to the channel. Age doesn't matter. It's if anybody can benefit from our chat or just be entertained on your lunch hour.
Love it.
I'm gonna sign off with our signature song. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
See ya.
Bye.